Hello, and welcome to The Swamp. The Swamp is an acronym.
Stands for some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And today, we come to you. You can't see us, but I would like to describe to you in vivid detail
I wish you could see us.
the costuming that is happening on our half. So we're covering Tonya today, and just like, it so serendipitously happened that Emily had the perfect Jeff Gillooly outfit for me to just put on, full mustache included. So Sebastian Stan in this movie, if you know his character with the little mustache and the turtleneck, I'm gonna say that I'm really rocking his look right now. If you saw me on the street, you'd be like, that's the guy who bashed Nancy Kerrigan's kneecaps in, right?
Oh my god, Jeff, how's it going?
Oh my God.
It's been ages. I haven't seen you for... Yeah, it's just because I keep a very small box of fake mustaches in my room for occasions like this, which, by the way, we are actually recording together.
Which is, for the first time in a long time. Not that you guys can tell. I mean, maybe you can.
I don't know.
If you're devout. But also, you're in a beautiful windbreaker
Yes,
a la the late 80s.
Yeah, you can't see it, but you can kind of hear it.
Today we're covering the 2017 film I, Tonya for our kind of unhinged, chaotic month. And I definitely think this movie qualifies within that. I know we had tossed around doing this during our, Unhinged Women month, and it didn't quite make the cut, but I'm really happy that we're talking about it now, because this was really one of my favorite movies that came out that year, and I think both of us expressed that we hadn't really watched it since then. And, rewatching it, I was like, oh, shit, yeah, I remember why I liked this movie so much.
I am absolutely in love with Margot's performance in this. Margot Robbie plays Tonya Harding. And she just did an absolutely incredible job. To me, one thing that I took away from this was that you could really tell that she cared a lot about this character and portraying her super well. It just hit home.
She did, I believe, co-produce this movie.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, right. Or at least, what is it where you just give a bunch of money?
Yeah, produce.
EP, executive producer.
Yeah,
anybody can get EP credits if you just, give a ton of money. That's why Brad Pitt has EP credits on, every good movie ever made, because you're just like, yeah, I'll donate $3 million, just put my name in the credits. But,
not?
Obviously she was, there and doing more than just giving money, because she's literally in it. But
yeah, she did a lot.
Yeah.
We'll get into it, but...
I do agree, though, that you can tell that she, put her whole self into playing this character. I know that she even went and, met with Tonya Harding beforehand to be like, hey, if I'm gonna play you, I want to meet you. But do you consider this to be an Oscar snub?
Yes, 110%. I think it was an Oscar snub. Like I said, it's one of those things, you can tell that she put all of her effort and all of her energy into this movie, and I just think that she was a lot better than Frances McDormand, who won that year for 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Which was, a fine movie and was a good performance. And, no hate to Frances. She definitely deserved recognition for that role. But I think that one scene where fucking Margot Robbie's looking in the mirror and, crying and smiling absolutely crushed any other performance, that whole year from anyone. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know about you, but for, I don't get, emotional watching a lot of the movies that we cover, but this one kind of hit me in my chest a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of people describe this as a black comedy or a dark comedy movie. I think it was nominated under musical/comedy at the Golden Globes.
Really?
Somebody can fact check me on that. That's just me pulling that out of my ass. But this movie does have its highs and lows and its funny points, but in no circumstance would I consider it a comedy. This movie's fucking gut-wrenching. It's as much as it's about the incident with Tonya Harding and the kneecapping and the triple axel and those important parts of her career. This is literally a movie about abuse. 90% of this movie is about the abuse she endured throughout her life and how that affected her career. So it's such a minuscule amount of this movie is actually dedicated towards those well-known events surrounding her. It's all just her getting beat up by her mom and her husband, which is really hard to watch.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was really a lot.
And the low lows make the high highs even when she does, land the triple axel or when she is doing well in her life, you're oh shit, that fucking sucks because you're gonna go home and get the shit beat out of you. Like,
yeah, and it's one of those things, like, some movies, like, bring you down to sort of build you up. This one did the exact opposite, where, like, very much, like, in the first act, it, like, builds you up to, like, bring you back down. Because for me, it was the scene where she's competing at the Olympics and she's crying because her lace broke and everything like that. Like, that scene into immediately the courtroom scene where they're telling her that she is never allowed to skate anymore. I found, like, just crushing.
Yeah, I would say that the first act of this movie is my favorite part of it. I really like all the expository, seeing, you know, the foundations of what had happened. I think that's just also where we get the most Allison Janney, which is just my personal favorite part of this movie. And then I would say that maybe it loses me a little bit in the second act because it's just a lot of, like, discussion about the kneecapping, her doing competitions and either doing well or not doing well, and I don't really care. And then it's, like, the end that draws me back in is like, oh, that was all, like, with a very specific goal in mind, and it was for those two scenes, which, like, really make me ignore any distraction that I had. I'm trying to be really serious right now, but I do have, like, a fake mustache taped to my upper lip. I just want everyone to know I'm, like, making deep eye contact with Emily, trying to talk very seriously about this movie, and I'm, like, stroking my little fake mustache.
I'm trying really hard to keep it together.
I'm going to say, though, Sebastian Stan, I might also argue, is kind of an Oscar snub. He didn't even get a nom for this, and I think he's fucking great in this movie.
Oh, yeah. Well, like, you and I were talking about this while we were watching it, that I forget that Sebastian Stan is a good actor.
All the time.
Like, a really good actor. Because he's,
in Marvel movies.
Yeah, because he's in Marvel movies. Which, not to, like, say that, like, Marvel movies discredit an actor. They don't. But
I think if that's kind of like what the thing you're known. I mean, I know he was in, like, what, Gossip Girl or whatever before. I don't know.
Was he?
Yeah, I think so. I think he played somebody in Gossip Girl.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that sounds right.
But, like, to me, if I know an actor from, like, Marvel, that's just what I'm like, oh, Chris, what's his name? Not Hemsworth. Chris.
Well, I mean, yes, Chris Hemsworth.
Chris Hemsworth, but also, who's the one from, who's Captain America? Chris Evans. Chris Evans.
I was going through the other ones. I was like, no, it's not Pine.
There's so many fucking Chris's. Yeah, Chris Evans. And I guess even Chris Hemsworth, too. It's like anything really serious they try to do, I just almost can't really take seriously. Because I'm like, you just stand there in a cape and look really hot while CGI and stunt guys do your job for you, basically.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, seeing Sebastian Stan in this, I'm like, oh, you usually just wear a fake arm and stand there and look hot while somebody does stunts and CGI for you. But I'm like, shit, he's acting good.
Yeah. I'm gonna throw out a hot take in this. Maybe it's not a hot take, but it feels like it, and I'm nervous to say it, is that while he stands there and looks hot in Marvel movies, he was pretty hot in this.
We are both mustache apologists on behalf of Sebastian Stan, because everyone out there who's saying no to the stash, I'm pulling the weight for stash lovers, because him in that turtleneck with that mustache, goddamn, why? I'm like, you can bash my kneecaps in, sir. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Just kidding. I'm sorry, Nancy Kerrigan. I didn't mean it, but I'm like, okay, he's hot in those Marvel movies just because he's always, like, kind of dirty and sweaty and, like, has a metal arm, which is kind of intriguing. Doesn't even hold a candle to what's happening. He's, like, abusing his wife, and it's not hot, but I'm like, it's the mustache.
Yeah.
It's the fucking mustache.
It's fully a porn stash, too, is the thing.
Why is it working? It doesn't work for anyone. It is working hard here, though. That stash is putting in the work.
Yeah. He gave a performance, and that mustache gave a performance.
She was her own character. And
do you remember, like, last month, we're like, yeah, no, the snow is her own character.
The mustache is her own character. The mustache should have got the nom. The Oscar snub was for Sebastian Stan's mustache. Oh my god. Okay, she's falling off my upper lip, so I'm gonna have to remove her.
Put her on the mug.
At the peak of mustache conversation, I simply must remove her from my face.
It's because she heard us talking about Sebastian. She just misses him.
She's trying to crawl back home.
You're just not the same. I'm sorry.
I know. But if any of you wanted to see a photo of me in my full Sebastian Stan get up, please go to our Instagram. It's really fucking funny.
But should we give a bit of a recap?
Yeah. So this is like based off of a real thing, a real historical event.
If you didn't get that, this actually happened. This was a very big deal.
But this
in
was
the 90s.
also, I believe they put one of those disclaimers at the beginning that this is like an interpretation of interviews of the people who were there. So I don't think this movie is claiming to be like an entirely accurate representation of events. I think it's more about like objective truth and unreliable narrators and people like, because it cuts away kind of mockumentary style to these sort of older Tonya and Jeff, which still Margot and Sebastian, where it's like supposedly they're talking directly to camera and they're kind of telling each of their side of the story, and then we're kind of seeing through flashbacks what had happened. So I think the movie's trying to be more like this is their experience of what had happened, and it's not promising to be true or untrue. It's just what they had said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But basically, Tonya Harding was a figure skater in the late 80s, early 90s, who all her life, her mom was pretty abusive and really pushed her to be the best, and they were kind of poor and didn't have a lot of money for her to like have nice costumes or anything, so she always felt like she had to work twice as hard as everyone else. And she kind of had an attitude and didn't really want to play by the rules. She didn't know why she had to look pretty or present herself in a nice way, because she's like, I'm the best skater, so why can't I just be treated like everyone else? And that kind of followed her throughout her career, that she was kind of seen as this like redneck, gritty girl who doesn't want to, be polite and proper. And then her boyfriend, who then husband, and she had a bodyguard who was like a friend of the boyfriend's. They like put out a hit on one of her competitors, kind of as like a joke or like just to kind of stir the pot. And I guess they never really intended for it to actually happen, but as it made its way, with money down a line of people, they ended up bashing her kneecaps in, which the movie presents it as a person hired by the bodyguard, instructed by Jeff, without Tanya's direct involvement is why the incident happened, is how the movie portrays it. I know a lot of different like sources have claimed that Jeff did it himself or that Tonya knew about it, and like actually we don't really know.
No.
But the way this movie, portrays it is that it was, a person who was paid by the friend bodyguard. But then obviously everything kind of goes to shit. She's in the Olympics, she places 8th, and then she can never skate again because she did a crime.
Yeah.
That's kind of a really vague overview of just the whole event. But the movie follows her from basically age 3 all the way to 23 through her performance at the Olympics. And then her arresting, where she didn't go to jail. She was just had a big fine she had to pay, and then they barred her from ever skating in the U.S. Association ever again.
Yeah, which is, yeah. Like I said, the courtroom scene was hard to watch. It's just, like, could you imagine? Because we are her age when all of this happened. 1, could you imagine being involved in that? And 2, like, now you have to figure out something new with your life.
Right. And
like, we both went to college. Like, we've been working towards, one thing for a very long time.
I mean, it's certainly not the fucking Olympics.
No,
but
no, it's not the Olympics. But, like doing, what I, if my life got,
completely derailed.
Completely derailed right now, I would feel so fucked. Could you imagine her circumstance?
Yeah. I mean, and they do show a very little bit at the end that she, I guess, tried, professional female boxing for a while to just kind of use her, clout and her fame to just stay in the spotlight and make enough money. But then there's a nice little, text thing at the end that kind of rolls through and kind of explains what she does for her job now, where she lives, kind of where all the players in the story ended up. And I mean, they all just have kind of normal lives. She's got remarried and has a kid. Yeah. Jeff remarried and has kids. She doesn't talk to her mom anymore. But I guess it said that she does landscaping and she builds decks now, I guess. Her. Which, I guess good for Tonya Harding.
One thing that I keep talking about how this movie made me emotional. But it was that one line, the very last line that they put in about what she's doing now is she has a 7-year-old son and she wants everyone to know that she's a good mom.
Yeah. It's
straight to the chest.
Right.
I feel like I got punched when I read that.
Because this movie started with the director. He saw some like 30 for 30 documentary or something about Tonya Harding, and he was like, oh, that'd be an interesting thing to make a movie about. So he set up direct interviews with both Tonya Harding and Jeff, and he like sat down and filmed them and talked to them and, you know, asked their permission if he could do it. And that's what they based the interviews in the film on.
It was like 6 hours worth of interviews with like both of them or something like that.
Which, again, obviously fictionalized to some degree for the sake of making a film, but they did sit down with both of them, and I know that they asked Jeff if he would sell the rights, because you have to, you know, ask people permission to make movies about real life things that happened, and because people usually want money if you're going to make a movie about them. They're like, yeah, you can, but not for free. And he was like, oh yeah, I'll sign anything. You don't have to pay me a cent. That was a horrible thing, and I don't want to make any money capitalizing off of that horrible thing I did. So he just signed away his rights to his name and his story or whatever. And I think they paid her only like $1,000 or something. And I think she maybe over the success of the movie got paid a little bit, but she didn't make a ton of money from this. Like, if you look up how much money did Tonya Harding herself profit from this movie, it's really not enough, in my opinion, to make an argument about like glorifying a bad person in a movie that's they're then going to get to capitalize off of, which, yeah, maybe she could with like public appearances or whatever, but I don't think this movie's trying to make her look like a good person or even really a sympathetic character. There are times in the film that I do sympathize for her, but I don't think that this movie's trying to like exonerate her of her crimes or like argue that she was a good person or deserved anything that she didn't get.
I think at the most it's trying to tell her perspective. And
or
that's it.
Just like introduce the concept of like every story has so many sides and you don't know like what objective truth is, I guess. They really laid that on thick at the end. And it's like, yeah, both of them could be fucking lying and this could be completely a different thing that actually, like, we don't know what actually happened. And that's why I'm like, well, you can feel bad for her, but it's only because you're seeing her side, you know? I also felt bad for Jeff at some points. There were times when I was like, oh, that fucking sucks.
You know who I never once felt bad for?
The fucking bodyguard.
Sean, the bodyguard. I think I looked at you and said, I'm so pissed, like...
You, like, left the room once. I think it was maybe to pee, but I was like, is Emily so frustrated at this character right now that you stormed out? Because truly there were times that...
Imagine if I just got in my car and left.
Right. The time that I felt the most frustrated is when he basically reveals to Jeff that, like, yes, this whole thing was me, and I did do it. And Jeff is, like, about to hit him, and Sean kind of turns his back, and Jeff walks up behind him as if he's going to beat the shit out of him, and, like, he has this little glimmer of restraint, and he turns around, and I'm like, you never had that for a second with your wife, who you beat the shit out of constantly through this whole movie, and now you actually have a legit reason to like, fucking kill someone. I mean, maybe not kill him, but, like, at least, you know, rough him up a little bit. And this is the moment you decide to, like, hold back. That's the most frustrated I was ever in this movie.
Yeah, no, I entirely agree with you. That character just made me so mad because of the delusion of it all. If I was Jeff, I would have been in jail. Yeah. I would have been in jail.
You could have caught these hands, Sean. I guess the lesson there is, like, you can have stupid friends, but don't give them $1,000 to put out a prank hit on your ex-wife's skating competition or anything to that degree of severity.
Yeah.
That's a lesson we can all learn from this film.
One other delusion that is within the context of this film is pretty early on. Whoever decided that Margot Robbie needed to be put in braces and given like a cropped little haircut and told that she was gonna play a 15-year-old girl.
The voiceover says, I was 15, and we get a hard cut to... Can we look up how old Margot Robbie was when she's like 30. She has to be 30.
I think she's older than 30, probably.
She's
31. Okay, she's 31, so and this was like 5 years ago?
So she was 27. So, yeah, not okay. Her and Sebastian Stan, they cut from McKenna Grace.
Which we'll talk about in a minute, but...
They cut from little McKenna Grace to Margot Robbie as if they're just seamless. She's 8, then she's 15. No questions. And I know that they filmed this movie in 30 days, which is fucking crazy. They made this whole movie in 30 days. You couldn't have grabbed 2 teenagers off just two white teenagers, a blonde one and a brown-haired one, just to film that intermediate scene where they were, like, fixing the car. Because even that, if you're gonna say, oh, she's 18 now and she's Margot Robbie, like, maybe. It was the braces for me.
The braces were a lot.
What the fuck were they trying to do with that?
Yeah, it's so funny because they made her, instead of making her look young, she looks like she's like 45 years old.
Right,
they did the exact opposite effect. The hair, I think it was the hair for me.
It was the hair. They gave her this, like, fucked haircut, and I think they were trying to do something with her makeup that just ended up making her cheeks look really sunk in, and, like, I'm like, if you told me that her and Sebastian Stan, which he still had the little pedo mustache, in the scenes...
No 18-year-old I have ever met
has just a mustache.
Has just a mustache or a mustache that looks that fully fleshed out and grown.
Right? But I'm like, you could have taken little McKenna Grace and put her in between the supposed 15 and 18-year-old Sebastian Stan Margot Robbie and said, these are her parents. And I would have said, yep. She just has adult braces.
Exactly. But no, let's talk about McKenna Grace for a minute because she is... a powerhouse, first of all. I don't even want to know how many acting credits she has, but I'm gonna look it up anyways.
More than, you know how Christopher Lee has, like, the most of any person? Yeah. McKenna Grace is gonna beat him by the time she's a legal adult. How old is she now? Because she was
born in 2006. Come on, we can do fast math.
14.
Like, she's 14 years old, and she has...
so many. This is just on IMDb, and she has 93.
That's fucked up.
She has well, because if you have a blonde character in your show or movie, and you need a younger version, you just get... she's number 1 on your fast to call list. Like... we need a younger version of this blonde character. Oh, McKenna Grace just spawns. You just say, oh, we need a young, and then you say blonde actress, and she just shows up. She's there. She just shows up. But, she always does such a good job. I'm like, no complaints here.
Yeah. Do you have any favorite performances by her? Because I remember I saw her in the most recent, season of The Handmaid's Tale. I thought she was insane in that.
This really does stand out to me.
I also really liked her in Troop Zero a lot.
Oh, okay, yep. I remember she was in The Haunting of Hill House, too, which I really liked, and I thought all the casting in that was really good.
Yeah.
Also, what was, in Captain Marvel, she was only in it for, like, a second, and just that, like, scene of, like,
that's all you needed.
Girls always get up. But I'm like, yeah, Alison Brie, a blonde actress, and they were like, okay, McKenna Grace is just on standby. But yeah, I think she just has proven to be, like, the child actor to go for. Why is she always playing a younger version of an existing character, right? I mean, she has a few. She was younger Sabrina, too.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? She always be doing that. Good for her, I guess. 93 acting credits at fucking 14. Like, Jesus Christ.
Like, she doesn't ever need to look like them.
Well, she's just blonde,
she's
right?
She's just blonde. It's fine. She does look a lot like the Sabrina actress, though.
Yes.
I will say that was perfectly casted.
And maybe if they had gotten an intermediate teenage Tonya, we could speak more to it.
But we can't.
But they were like, this is 15, 30-year-old Margot Robbie.
McKenna and, I mean, also Margot, obviously, though, they skated their ass off for this. Yeah, like... could you imagine being like, okay, like you're already like acting, which is a difficult enough thing to do and like your job and like you have to put work in for it. Yeah. And obviously like learning the skill is part of acting, but learning how to like skate really, I mean, I don't want to say like really well, but like decently well.
Very well, yeah. So I know Margot Robbie fully, like she knew how to ice skate, but obviously not to like that degree.
Do you know how to ice skate?
I do. Not very well. I can skate backwards and forwards, and I can, like, do a little, like...
I would hope forward.
Yeah.
Just sideways, strictly sideways.
And I would say I can ice skate better than I can roller skate.
See, I'm the opposite. I've only ice skated, like, less than 5 times.
I used to take lessons as a kid. Yeah.
But anyways, so back to Margot.
Oh, but yeah, so she, I guess, took, like, intensive figure skating lessons, obviously, because she did not all her own stunts, but obviously all the parts where she's acting in the face, pretty severely. She is actually skating, and she did learn like the tricks and stuff, but they had 2 or 3 stunt doubles, and then they CGI'd the triple axel because nobody can do that. Or at least nobody fucking available can do that. If you can do a triple axel, you're too busy to be in a movie. Yeah.
They just called Nancy Kerrigan to do it. Like, hey,
I believe I read online that since Tonya Harding, only 7 people or women. Since Tonya Harding, only 7 women have done it. Yeah.
She was the first American woman to do it, right?
She was the first woman ever.
Period, yeah?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Or like at least in competition, you know.
Yeah.
To attempt it and land it and do it in a competition.
Yeah.
Not to say there aren't other women who didn't like, dick around and try it and successfully do it, but like who was watching,
Where are the tapes?
If a figure skater triple axels in the forest and no judges are there to evaluate it, did she really stick the landing?
Yeah, that's another thing about this movie that just really wowed me is just the reminder that figure skating is so fucking hard. Like, I don't watch a lot, like, whenever, like, okay, everyone watches the Summer Olympics, if you ask me. Maybe not everyone, but, like, if you watch sports, you'll watch the Summer Olympics. I don't think a lot of people watch the Winter Olympics or just pay them as much mind. Like, when I watch the Olympics, I'm thinking, like, gymnastics is the most impressive thing ever. Mm-hmm. Watching this movie reminds me, like, how fucking insane ice skating is.
Some psychopath was like, hey, gymnastics, we're gonna tape knives to your feet. And we're gonna let children do it. What the fuck? As a kid, I always had this really deep fear whenever I was ice skating that I was gonna fall and land with my hands out and that somebody was going to skate directly over all 10 of my fingers and sever them. You too?
No. However, I do know someone that happened.
All 10?
My shout out to Matt, my roommate.
Oh, really?
He had he
fully
had,
severed?
No, they weren't fully severed. If there was about like a teeny bit more pressure put on them, they would have been severed. He was very small. I think it was like his dad did it or something.
Oh my god.
I could be totally wrong.
That's traumatic. I just think somebody told me once as a kid, like, oh, if you fall, make sure you put your hands into fists, just in case, take care of your extremities. Yeah. And that, it's like quicksand. How as a kid, you always think you're going to be stepping into quicksand. Every time I fell, I was like, tuck the fingies. Like, I wouldn't protect any other part of my body, but I'm like, tuck the fingies because all 10 of them are getting severed no matter what. But yeah, literally gymnastics with like knives on your feet. So fucked up. And every time she would spin, like, I would like get a little queasy. And I'm just watching. I'm just watching in a movie.
Yeah, no, that is the most insane thing to me. Like, do you know how dizzy you have to be? How do you train your body and your brain? Like, do you close your eyes? Does that make it worse? I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like I wish I had someone, some like
figure skater,
yeah, semi-professional ice skater here to just.
Right. If you told me right now to stand up and spin around in a circle 10 times and then walk in a straight line, I'd fucking fall on my ass. Imagine doing that on ice. What?
Yeah, no. That's like that game, like, have you ever played it where with
the bat?
The bat, where you spin around it and then you fucking try and hit a ball?
It's called like Dizzy Lizard or something.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Dizzy Lizard.
Yeah, right, that one. So we're here, as always, with my mom, Jen, for our little interim segment. But before we get into chocolate or vanilla right now, I was just wondering if you, as a person who was alive and paying attention to the news in the 90s, have any, personal insight on the do you remember when this all was happening?
Oh, yeah, it was, whack when it was happening, because, it was totally on the news, and everyone was trying to figure out what was going on. Just like in the movie, Nancy Kerrigan was like America's sweetheart, and everybody felt so bad for her. She's also she's from Mass. She's from Bellingham or something. Yeah. So up here it had more of an impact. Yeah, totally. Of course, I remember it. Yeah.
Just interesting because we weren't born yet, so we only have this movie to,
Yeah, I would say the
carry
movie
on
is
the legacy.
pretty accurate on how it went down.
Moving on from I, Tonya, we are here to play Chocolate or Vanilla, a game of your invention that you host halfway through our podcast. It's a game where you just ask us two things and we just say which one we like better. It's very easy and it's very fun. Is there a theme this week?
There's a theme this week, so it's Olympics.
Oh, I think people who got their knees bashed in would have been the only thing more specific.
I don't know if I could come up with a whole list of people who got their knee bashed in. So, all right, chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Chocolate. Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt?
Usain Bolt, because he didn't cheat. Did Michael Phelps cheat?
No.
No.
Oh.
He just
trained really hard.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I think he got like shit for like medicating like with weed.
Oh.
But other than that, like no. I'm gonna go Michael Phelps.
Yeah, I'll go Usain Bolt because of that thing.
His little
Have
stance.
his little stance at the end of each race.
I also just think there's no fucking way that we don't live in a simulation if the fastest man in the world is named Usain Bolt. What? Who? You can't even write that. Like,
Is that his real name? It must be.
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
amazing. Yeah, it's like
universe was
self-fulfilling
sitting there and,
prophecy.
The universe was like, this is my best work yet.
Okay, women's gymnastics or men's gymnastics?
women's.
Men's gymnastics is so fucking boring.
Isn't it true? Like the women's gymnastics is amazing and the men's is awful. Just kind of like the ice skating is the same thing. It's like
Yeah. It's so lame. There's like the women have to be like full performers. The men just have to like
Show up.
show up and like
Be muscular.
swing on some rings and then stand really straight.
Yeah. That
it.
being said, I could not even like hold myself on those rings or
Me
jump
neither.
on that horse or anything. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But the women, listen, there's always a higher expectation for women,
Just in life.
and that's all I have to say.
What about the balance beam? That stuff is crazy.
That's insane. It's insane. I remember because my sister did gymnastics for like years and years, and we had a like just a small balance beam in our house, like sort of on the floor, and just being on the floor and doing it was hard enough.
Right.
I could not imagine being like several feet off the ground and just throwing my whole body through the air to land on a 3-inch beam. Horrifying.
Yeah. Always amazed at that. Okay, butterfly, breaststroke, or backstroke for a triple.
Oh, I'm trying to remember which one Henry did in high school. Henry did swim in high school, and he was like, he always won a certain
I think
one.
I feel like he did the breaststroke.
breaststroke.
Which is like the hardest one, right?
I think the hard one's the
butterfly.
butterfly. That's the one where you come over the
Yeah.
top.
Oh yeah.
I'll say that one because it's got the best name.
I like the backstroke because you're just fucking backwards. Like, fuck it. Swim backwards. It's like running backwards. Could you imagine like competing
my
and
God.
running backwards?
They should have that.
Go backwards one. I'll go with butterfly because I think it looks impossible to do. Okay, these two movies, Miracle or Cool Runnings. So the Miracle on Ice 1980 hockey team or the 1988 Jamaican bobsled team.
I have only seen Cool Runnings because they made me watch it in my 7th grade history class for some reason. I don't know, but we got to miss like 7 days
Because it was
of
history
class.
from the 80s.
Yeah, to watch Cool Runnings. So I'll say that one. That one and Hotel Rwanda. They made us watch those back to back, which was
so
like,
weird.
what?
I'm gonna say Miracle because in high school before like the first like track meet of the season, our coach would make us watch Miracle on Ice. And let me tell you, I felt inspired.
It's inspiring.
I will say I might have run a little faster.
I know. You know how you asked me about the Tonya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan thing? I probably had more memories of the 80 hockey because Jim Craig was from Easton, Mass, which is like one town over from where I grew up. So it was like a big deal. All right. Figure skating versus speed skating.
Oh, figure skating. It's just prettier to watch.
Yeah, figure skating.
Yeah, I thought about this one. I'm like, I kind of like that speed skating, how they have to cross their feet over and like practically falling over when they're turning. So I'm going to go speed skating. Winter Olympics or Summer Olympics?
Summer.
Yeah, easy summer. I feel like I was talking to Dara about this earlier in the pod. I just feel like people don't watch or get invested in like the Winter Olympics nearly as much. There's a lot more pomp and circumstance going on with the Summer Olympics.
This is the second week in a row you've used that phrase.
I don't know. It just fits.
New catchphrase.
Like how you throw titular into everyone.
Titular pomp and circumstance.
I will go with, I like them both. I love the Olympics. So I'll go with Winter Olympics because it's coming up. It's like coming up in a couple weeks. Hurdles, pole vault, or high jump? High jump's the one where you go backwards over the pole.
Pole vault, because I love an accessory.
I'm gonna say hurdles because my senior year of high school decided that the 400 was too easy and too many people did it. But you know what no one wants to do? The 400 hurdles, and I did it, and it sucked.
I thought you did. I think, is there a picture of you in the yearbook doing the hurdles?
I don't think so. Definitely Alyssa,
Is there,
not me.
Is there one of Alyssa? Okay, yeah.
I would say probably.
I will go with the high jump. I like when they jump backwards. I think that's really cool. Again, all of these things look completely impossible to me. Like, I definitely could never do them. Oh, all right, ready? Ping pong or badminton?
Ooh, ping pong. Because Forrest Gump played ping pong. And that's the only time I've ever watched either of those things happen in the Olympics.
I played badminton a lot as a child, and I really liked it. So I'm going to say badminton.
Nice. Have you ever seen Olympic badminton?
No.
It's no joke.
I believe it.
Yeah. And also, the table tennis is no joke, too. I will go with ping pong.
I just know in the table tennis, they like put up their hand to cover it so that they like, so that their opponent can't see which way they're aiming. And that just seems way too hard.
That's insane.
Like, calm down, please.
Yeah.
Reel it in.
Curling or race walking?
Oh my god, curling is so fun. Why is it so fun to watch people do the most boring sport? I don't know. I just like it.
It's one of those things too. I don't understand it in the slightest.
No,
I
but
have no idea how it
It's
works.
kind of calming though
Right.
to like watch it.
Exactly. It's like sort of the same way that like ASMR hits you.
Yeah.
Just watching that little, I don't even know what to call it, that like puck
Sweepy thing, yeah.
Just watching it glide. I'm like, ooh, yeah. Feels like a warm hug.
Or it's like watching somebody chop vegetables really fast.
Yeah.
In the same way that's satisfying is
Very
curling.
Just
yeah.
very pleasing.
I
Jen,
will go with
disagree?
curling, too.
Oh no,
No, I totally agree. I also think it's fun to watch something that it looks like anybody could do. Like, I'm sure they're really awesome at it and stuff, but like, it seems doable, right?
But I'm sure that if we got up there and tried, it would be like the fucking hardest thing
Yeah,
ever.
a mess.
Exactly. Be like walking on the balance beam. Simone Biles or Caitlyn Jenner?
This is, again, Jen, this is like when you said, like, Betsy Ross or Harriet Tubman. There's just, like there's a right choice and a wrong choice here. And Simone Biles is the right choice.
Yeah, it's Simone.
Yeah. Also, of course. Last one. The Olympics or the X Games?
Olympics.
Yeah, Olympics for sure. I think the X Games are really cool, but the Olympics just have such variety.
Also, I don't get the whole thing with bikes.
It's
I don't
impressive
know.
still, but
But I don't get. I'd rather watch somebody do gymnastics than like ride their bike really good.
I get it. Yeah. I get that. I will say Olympics also, and that was it for the Olympic version of Talking to Finola.
Wow, I was really expecting to like not know the answers to any because I don't really engage with that. But thanks for making them easy, Jen. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you
You're
catering
welcome.
to my no sports knowledge this week.
always a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, love you guys. Bye.
All right.
So I know we've been singing the highest praises of Margot Robbie, but can we talk about literal Oscar winner Allison Janney in this film?
That's one I think that's the first thing that I realized when I was watching this is that we are big Allison Janney girls, and I don't know, have we covered a movie with her in it yet? I can't recall.
Yeah, not that I can think of. I mean, I know this is definitely our second Margot Robbie film because we did Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
Where we talked about how she's so good at roller skating because of this movie. But yeah, I don't really know if we have done an Allison Janney yet. And she is at the top for me. She fucking kills it every time, and this movie is no exception.
It's so consistent.
And she did rightfully win Best Supporting Actress for her performance in this role, which of the 30 days that they filmed this movie, she was there for 9. This bitch won an Oscar in 9 days.
She fucking killed it. We have done an Allison Janney, I wouldn't say an Allison Janney movie, but we did Hairspray.
Oh, she's in Hairspray. But she's in Hairspray for like a millisecond.
Oh, but she's still
scene stealer, yeah.
Every time, any movie, I feel like I don't know that I ever watched a movie where she is the main character, but I think that's not a bad thing because she has just become such a scene stealer in anything and everything.
Yes.
Even like, I think of Juno.
I was gonna say, Juno immediately comes to mind where I just like, oh, I love you so much. But this movie, all I aspire to be in life is Allison Janney in a fucking fur coat with a bird perched on my shoulder, just serving cunt. Like, that's all she does this whole movie, and it's all I ever want to be.
You have the glasses already.
I know, I do. I have very similar glasses to her that she wears. Hers kind of like dip down on the sides, though, which is like very, like, I don't know, distinct. But
I think you could do it. I think you could pull it off.
I know, I could not pull off that haircut. That's for fucking sure. That little mullet of a bowl cut. Ma'am.
The hair in this movie is atrocious. And rightfully so.
Yeah.
It was the 90s.
And they got it so right. You look at pictures of Tonya Harding and you're like, yeah, that wig they made Margot Robbie wear, they snatched it off of Tonya Harding's head. Like, it's...
Yeah, when we were getting dressed up before this, in our mustache and tracksuit, I was sitting there, I was like, I don't think I could ever tease my hair like that, because it would never not be teased again.
Yeah.
You mentioned, you're like, yeah, no, Margot was in wigs, because it would have destroyed
her hair. And, like, the amount of hairspray, because it always looks, like, kind of crunchy.
Yeah.
Her hair always looks like vaguely crunchy, right? And I'm sure it's on purpose to be that like very 80s style, but they were like, yeah, if we do this to your hair every day, it's like literally gonna fry.
She will never be the same. You just have to shave it.
I do appreciate kind of I don't appreciate it because it's shit for Tonya, but sort of the character of like the tiger mom who's not like an upper class. You know what I mean? Like that depiction of like tiger mom type character, or like, you know, mom who sacrifices everything and pushes their kid to be so good at a certain hobby. I think there's like a very specific stereotype, and it's not that kind of like quote unquote white trash lady. So I think it's like an interesting thing that we don't really see a lot in film, of like this mom who's like, she's a piece of shit, and she's like a waitress, and she chain smokes, but she's makes a valid point that every single thing she does was to make sure that Tonya was the best and had the most opportunities for skating. Doesn't mean she was a good mom, but it means that like she did that for her kid. And the relationship between the two of them certainly adds that dynamic, because you get obviously the abusive relationship with her and her husband, but first we get the abusive relationship with her and her mom to kind of build that foundation. So then once her boyfriend starts hitting her, she's like, well, this is like what I learned. My parents hit me and they love me, which is just like such a real thing that I think a lot of people have, especially people who like have dealt with like the cycle of abuse.
Yeah, no, they did, the way they portrayed it, and because I mean, she does say that, like, my mom hits me and she loves me. Because they use, like, they break the fourth wall a lot in this movie. Maybe not, like, a lot, but definitely, like,
a fair amount.
A fair amount. And a lot of it was in those sort of scenes where Tanya's getting beat up, and it does make it, I think part of it, the way they did it that way, is to make it a little more bearable to watch.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if they didn't, like, it's already hard to watch.
Yeah, especially, and she'll like do like a snarky comment or something that could like maybe be perceived as funny, but like when it's freeze frame, like mid fist to the face, you know, it does kind of break it up in that way. And that's really interesting. They carry that through the very end, where the last 2-camera thing is when she's boxing and she's on the mat with like the pool of blood around her face, and she speaks to camera, and then she gets back up. So she's always getting hit speaking to camera, like kind of addressing the audience. Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but it definitely is to kind of break up those scenes that are like a little hard. But I think that if we can take away anything from this film, it's that you should never try too hard. If you have like a hobby, keep it a hobby. It doesn't have to be a passion. Yeah. Do everything at like a 6 out of 10. Tonya could have been like a pretty okay figure skater, and then everything would have been fine. Yeah. So, like, don't get too invested. That's just really bad advice. I'm just trying to, like, justify.
Moderation is important.
Right, yeah. Don't do anything at don't put in 110 for anything. Like, rest at a 70.
Yeah, that's what we do for this podcast.
Yeah, we rest at a 70, I would say. We occasionally dip to 40, and on a good day, 85.
I'm just sorry. I'm looking at your notes, and it says, "What is this? Hold on, where is it? This is Whiplash for what does it say?
For the girls." This movie's just Whiplash for girls.
Yeah, because Whiplash is again going 110% balls to the walls movie. But you're right. This is for the girls.
Yeah, if he had just been like accepting of just being kind of an okay drummer, he would have been a lot happier. Do it at a 70, bro. Yeah. This movie is Whiplash for girls. I think it has less of that like mentor-mentee tension and more like the tension she felt with the system, I guess. But I still the genre of movie of like person who is so dedicated to a specific, like, I don't want to say craft, but like, you know, profession or thing that they do that it like basically tears their life apart is always a little bit appealing to me. Like Black Swan has a little bit, definitely Whiplash, this movie. I know there's a new movie out called The Novice about a rower that I would like to see because it's still like that kind of, you know.
She's in that vein.
Yeah. If anyone out there has seen The Novice, let me know if it's worth seeing in the theater or not. But do we want to get into our like regularly scheduled programming?
Yeah. I have prepared nothing.
Oh, okay. Great. So let's start off with something easy. Let's do Fuck, Marry, Kill. And I think, do we want to just do like Tonya, Jeff, and then the bodyguard as the I feel like the three of them are kind of.
Yeah. Well, I'm easy. This is easy.
Okay.
I'm gonna kill the bodyguard because I have probably the strongest feelings about this character than like any other character I've like had to watch in a long time. Yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that. I would not get a lot of satisfaction out of fucking Jeff. I'd rather just fuck Jeff's mustache. But I'll fuck Jeff anyways, because the mustache just simply isn't an option. And then I'll marry Tonya.
Yeah, I definitely, this one's a little too easy. I couldn't agree more. Yeah, if he wasn't such an abusive asshole, I would be way more into fucking Jeff and his mustache. Turtleneck stays on during sex.
Yeah.
That's ground rules. And usually I'm like a I could fix him type, but like simply this case is out of my hands.
Absolutely not.
But you know what? I would have bought Tonya all the Dove bars, whether we could afford it or not. So I would have been a better spouse to Tonya than fucking dog shit Jeff. Is there anyone else we can throw in? I guess let's just do it from the whole movie because it's tough. There's not really a ton of likable characters in this film.
I'm gonna still kill the bodyguard.
Yeah, fuck him.
I'm gonna fuck, okay, in this case, I think I'll fuck Tonya, and then I'm gonna marry her instructor.
The coach?
The coach.
The first one or the second one?
The first one. I'm gonna fuck the first one. Like, she's like the first one, and then she gets replaced, and then she comes back.
Yes. You're gonna marry her?
I'm gonna marry her. She seems like she'd really care for me, and just be very, I don't want to say nurturing. Maybe that's just because I've seen her
work with children.
Yeah, well,
and work with difficult adults.
Exactly. But I think that she seems like a lovely lady.
Yeah, this
and
movie
that's simply
is,
all I want.
I'm literally trying to think of like one like redeemable character in this film. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna marry the bird perched on Allison Janney's shoulder. No, I'm just kidding. I think I also, like, again, I can't even fix Allison Janney. I can't even say I'd marry her because she's, like, literal shit. Like, like, I could not, if somebody said one mean thing to me once, I would cry. Or, like, I think about getting closed fist punched in the face. Literally, I think I would perish on impact. Like, I could not. I simply could
Allison
not.
Janney would stab you.
If Allison Janney stabbed me, I would say thank you. I'm gonna fuck Nancy Kerrigan. Post broken knee, like she's healing, and I just need to be there for her.
It's like by fucking her and then like feeding her soup.
Yes, yeah, at the same time. I'm trying to think of who I want to kill more than the bodyguard. Like, I still think I gotta fucking kill the bodyguard. That guy is insufferable.
Yeah.
And then I'll marry the judge that Tonya said suck my dick to, because I don't know, she has a job. Literally the bar is so low for this film. And then we did not eat or drink anything particularly interesting, and the only notes I had were like Dove bars, obviously, because they bring that up in the film, or just any sort of like ice cream freezer snack, I guess. Not particularly interesting, but I do think the ice cream kind of goes with like the figure skatey theme a little bit. It's not particularly creative, but I know that to drink, I think you should drink something really trashy, like a tequila sunrise. Or like a PBR. Like, this movie feels very PBR to me.
Yeah.
Like, it is the American working class beer.
Yeah.
It is. Allison Janney's character definitely pounds PBRs.
Yeah, I agree with you, PBR. Honestly, get yourself like a microwave meal. You know what I mean?
A Stouffer's. She does eat like a Stouffer's at one point.
You could do a Stouffer's.
Yeah.
Or like, the imagery that's coming to mind is like, I know she was like working at diners and everything like that.
Like diner food.
Yeah, like diner food. Get like, make yourself like a fucking shitty steak.
Yeah.
Burn the hell out of it, honestly.
Like the most overcooked steak.
Yeah. Like, well done to the exact limit. No potatoes, just steak.
It's just a dry steak. I'm just thinking
dry
about those,
steak.
what are they called? Like Hungry Man Jack
Yeah.
meals or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like something
I think that's
nasty.
perfect.
Like, you microwave it and it's like corn, potatoes, steak, and gravy all just in a tray together. Literally disgusting.
Yeah.
Did you ever have kid cuisines?
I was just about to say.
As a child?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Maybe get some kid cuisines. That could be really fun.
Yeah, like, make it at least, like, a little enjoyable for yourself. Get your favorite kid cuisine. What one did you like? Because it was obviously the chicken nuggets for me.
Oh, yeah, chicken nuggets and mac and cheese. I always just specifically liked, like, the pudding or the brownie. Or, like, the pudding that got a little solid, so it was somewhere in between a pudding and a brownie. And then it came with a little packet
the sprinkles.
of sprinkles that you put on top. Yeah, that was my shit. That blue plastic, the dye in that blue plastic probably seeped into that food, and that's why we are the way we are right now. It's like, that's why my brain is literally rotten. It's from the blue plastic from kid cuisines.
Yeah. I ate them too frequently because my mom
worked.
Worked.
Yeah. And then to follow it up, I only had 2 thoughts.
Okay.
Head empty, 2 thoughts. I don't really like sports movies.
Okay.
But I do like Rocky. I like the first Rocky film, and I think that this movie ends
On the fighting note.
on the female boxing. So you segue right into Rocky. Not super strong, but it's like 2 sports movies that are like just about interpersonal relationships as they are about the sport. I would maybe argue. Again, I was literally just trying to think of a movie other than Mighty Ducks that I like that's not like sports.
Yeah, if you want to also segue into like the interpersonal relationships sort of sports movie, you could be really depressed and watch $1 Million Baby.
Oh my god, that's a
lot. It's a lot.
That's too much. Yeah.
Like I said, I think the only time I've ever watched that movie was I watched like the last 40 minutes of it when I was like maybe like
the saddest 40 minutes of any movie.
I was maybe like 7 years old. I wandered into my grandfather's room.
Oh my god.
And just sat down and watched the end of it. And I've never seen any of the other part of it.
Okay, but $1 Million Baby isn't a sports movie. It's a euthanasia movie.
We've definitely talked about this before.
But I do like the Mighty Ducks a lot, and that's about ice skating. So if you want to like really brighten up your note, watch the Mighty Ducks, I guess. But this movie also really makes me think about the American Crime Story series about O.J. Simpson, Trial of O.J. Simpson. kind of that whole, like, there's two sides to every story. Not so much with OJ, because we're, like, pretty sure we know what happened there. But I think that series did a really good job of, like, picking apart how every different party felt and how, like, everything was constantly kind of in flux about, like, what is objective truth. And also, like, a true crime thing that did happen that I think was done really well. I have this, like, weird... I don't really like biopics about people who are still alive. I think that's really weird. Like, the new King Richard movie...
They have to be dead.
Right, but, like that new movie about Simone and Venus and Serena's dad. I'm like, he's still alive. Like, why are we making biopics about people who aren't dead? I don't know. Maybe that's controversial.
No,
but...
I get what you're saying. It feels like it needs to, like, be in memoriam, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, like, remember how amazing they were sort of thing. I'd say one that you certainly could follow it up with is... you go and you watch Frances McDormand's performance in Three Billboards.
Oh, yeah, then you do a direct comparison, and you realize how much she was fucking snubbed.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I'm going to recommend you do, because it is a very different movie. And I just don't feel like one sports movie after the other.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, it's not for me, maybe it's for you.
This is hardly a sports movie, too.
Yeah,
and it's still, it's really pushing that. I would also say maybe the Birds of Prey would be a good one after this, because that's another really good Margot Robbie performance, and she roller skates a lot in it, which is, like, interesting, and I know she does a lot of her stunts in this and in that, and also she's just a fucking powerhouse. Literally go watch any of her movies. Go watch Wolf of Wall Street.
In the same vein, I think you could just pick whatever your favorite Allison Janney
go watch Juno.
Right? I feel like I've suggested Juno too many times, so I won't directly suggest it, but... Go watch your favorite Allison Janney movie, and if it's not Juno, then you're wrong. But, and what would you rate this?
I'm gonna give it we usually don't do halves on this.
Oh, I do.
I feel like I'm usually, like, a solid number girl, but I want to say 7.5, because it's not a movie I, like, return, like, I don't watch this frequently. It's not, I wouldn't put it on my favorites, but just watching it now, it did remind me of a lot of the reasons why I love watching movies so much. It's like, everything was there. The soundtrack was fucking banging. All the performances were awesome. The story was, like, really reeling me in, and I love that feeling of being like, oh, yes, this is why I love watching movies so much. And I do think it was one of the best movies from that year. Again, I wouldn't consider it one of my favorites or anything, but, like, having come fresh off of watching it, I'm, like, very pro I, Tonya right now. So I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
No.
7.5.
No, I totally agree with you. 7.5. I don't love it enough to give it, like, the 8. I feel like I reserve, like, things high, like an 8 for, like, a movie that I'm, like, I have, like, pretty strong feelings about. And I definitely, like you said, like, coming fresh off of it, I have a lot of strong feelings about it.
But then, like, 6 weeks from now, ask me to name my 3 favorite, I don't know, sports movies, and I, like, might not even think of this one, you know?
But I think, the performances in this were so standout. The only, like, gripe I really have with it is the pacing, sort of, like, in that second half. Didn't love it. But definitely, like you said, like, it reminds you, like, sort of why you like watching movies so much.
Dude.
It covered every single base for me, which I feel like is hard to do. It's hard to do.
When those first few drum hits of The Chain by Fleetwood Mac hit to segue us into the third act of the film. Are you kidding me? That's when you know that a film is doing it.
I was absolutely blown away by the soundtrack for this movie.
Right? I looked up...
The budget was, like, what, $11 million?
$11 million.
And I know $10 million of those dollars went to the soundtrack.
Right, yeah, it must have. Yeah, it's so just, like, 80s and 90s, banger after banger.
It's absolutely iconic. And all of the needle drops are fucking perfect. Yeah, the Chain one was definitely...
so good.
Yeah.
So, like, at the peak of the drama, too. Yeah. But I do remember you asking, at one point you said, how is there another hour left in this? Because we basically were just getting to the kneecapping, and you were like, there's still another fucking hour? Which is, like... Yeah, it really goes to show that I think the first half of this movie feels a lot more rewarding than the second half. But overall, still a great film. Thank you all for joining us for Chaos Month. As if this podcast isn't already chaotic enough the rest of the time. We thought we needed more. So send us your suggestions for future films, future themes, chocolate or vanilla things. I'll try to post the chocolate or vanilla up on our Instagram sometime in the next week, so you guys can all vote on which Olympics things you like better, if that's a thing that you're into. Or if not, understandable, sports are lame. But what's not lame is you. So thanks for listening. All of our social media is in the description below, so make sure to check us out there, and definitely feel free to message us about anything. And
we love you.
Oh, we love you. I'm trying to send more warm, positive love to our viewers as of late. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and goodbye.